This evening, first, why won't police release the final autopsy report on 11-year-old Adriana Young? Her family is demanding answers, and international experts are raising even more questions. Plus, from Cayenne to court custody, a Guyanese woman is found dead in French Guiana, and her husband's story is falling apart. We follow the international trail in this chilling cross-border case. And the Ethnic Relations Commission lashes out after disturbing online attacks against Adriana's grieving family. Who's behind the vile comments and what's next? Meanwhile, crime doesn't pay. A businessman must hand over $10 million after a judge ruled the cash came from a corrupt land deal. Why this case could shake up the real estate world. Finally, the death toll rises as Israel and Iran trade fresh strikes. We'll have the latest on the escalating crisis. Stay tuned, these stories and more tonight on Headline News Update. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for June 16, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, the Ghana Police Force has refused to release the final autopsy report of 11-year-old Adriana Young to her family, saying they must obtain a court order to access it. Attorney Dexter Todd, representing the Young family, confirmed that police responded to his former request for the report by stating that they would not cooperate without a court mandate. The final autopsy report, conducted by a team of international pathologists on April 28, concluded that Adriana died from drowning. Unconvinced by the initial findings, Adriana's family commissioned a second autopsy in the United States, where forensic pathologist Dr. Carol Terry raised doubts about drowning being the definitive cause of death. Dr. Terry submitted over 100 questions to the Ghana Police Force regarding the investigation and findings, and has stated that she cannot complete her report without answers and access to the original autopsy. A second letter was sent to the Police Commissioner Clifton Hickins and Crime Chief Wendell Blanham on June 3rd, requesting the necessary documentation. Todd has since gone public with the matter, appearing on Reset Talk Show alongside Adriana's mother and aunt to update the public and highlight concerns about marks found on Adriana's body, including a tile-like pattern that may hold forensic significance. Adriana was found dead in a swimming pool at the Doubleday International Hotel on April 24th, less than 24 hours after she was reported missing during a family outing in Tushin on the east bank of Essequibo. The family continues to seek clarity and transparency as international and local authorities coordinate the ongoing investigation. The funeral of 11-year-old Adriana Young had been initially set for May 5th, but was postponed. Her mother cited the family's overwhelming grief and the need for space and clarity as reasons for the difficult decision. A new date has now been set for Sunday, June 22nd. However, her family are still seeking justice and clarity for her death. In other news, the body of a missing Guyanese woman has been found in French Guiana, sparking an international murder investigation. Dale Jarvis has the latest on the case and the suspect now in custody.
The body of 34-year-old Guyanese woman Coretta Blair Sandy, also known as Mindy, has been discovered in French Guiana days after she was reported missing after suspicious circumstances. Her remains were found in a swampy area near the Cayenne residence she shared with her husband, Terence Glasgow, during a trip that began on May 29th. The discovery was made after French Guiana authorities launched a search following concerns raised by Sandy's family when communication with her abruptly ceased on June 11th. Glasgow had returned to Guyana alone, claiming the couple, he and Sandy, were ambushed in Suriname and that Coretta had been fatally shot during the incident. However, inconsistencies in his account and a lack of reports from Suriname's authorities led the family to file a police report. Glasgow has since been taken into custody in Guyana. The location of Sandy's body near where she had been staying in Cayenne, investigators now believe that she may have been murdered in French Guiana, and efforts are underway to determine the exact circumstances of her death. The mother of one leaves behind a 15-year-old daughter. Investigations continue with both Guyanese and French Guyanese authorities collaborating on the case. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jarvis.
Thanks, Dale. The Ethnic Relations Commission has launched a probe into offensive online remarks made against the late Adriana Young's family. Dominic Gittins tells us more about the ERC's response and ongoing investigations.
The Ethnic Relations Commission has strongly condemned offensive Facebook comments made by Jennifer Ali targeting the late Adriana Young and her grieving family. In a statement, the ERC described Ali's remark as, quote, vile and hateful, adding that such behavior deepens the suffering of the mourning family and violates principles of decency and respect. The ERC has launched a formal investigation and requested Ali's appearance before the Commission to address the content and intent of her comments. The ERC emphasized that while freedom of expression is protected, it must be exercised responsibly, particularly during sensitive periods. In a separate statement, the ERC clarified that it played no role in the arrest or prosecution of entertainer Daniel Wharton, also known as Baby Skello, whose controversial song was criticized for blasphemous content targeting the Hindu community. The ERC had issued 2 public invitations to Wharton in May, asking him to appear and discuss concerns, but received no response. The Commission reiterated that it lacks the authority to compel attendance and stressed that Wharton's arrest was solely the action of the Guyana Police Force. The ERC reaffirmed its constitutional mandate to promote harmony and mutual respect among Guyana's diverse communities. Reporting for Channel 2 Headline News, Dominic Gittins.
Thanks, Dominic. Stick around when we return. Pre-kill in separate motorcycle accidents in Berbice and Rupununi, and GCOM extends registration hours for claims and objection exercise ahead of 2025 elections.
GCOM is currently conducting a claims and objections exercise commencing June 16, 2025 to produce an official list of electors for the conduct of general and regional elections. If you will be 18 years or older by June 30, 2025 and you're a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GCOM has posted the preliminary list of electors in all registration divisions for you to check if you are listed and if your particulars are accurate. You can object to anyone you believe does not qualify for inclusion in the OLE. To do so, you must be listed on the same divisional list as the person you are objecting to. You must visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to make an objection. The objections aspect of this exercise will end on Friday, June 20, 2025. For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-0277-9 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Cotton smalls make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Authorities are once again calling on motorists to slow down, wear protective gear, and exercise vigilance as they investigate 2 fatal motorcycle accidents that claimed the lives of 3 young individuals over the weekend. In Berbice, 26-year-old Junior Matthews of Sheet Anchor and 29-year-old Stephen Dilser of Reliance Settlement died on Sunday night following a head-on collision along the Fort Kanji Public Road in New Amsterdam. Reports indicate that both men were riding at high speed in opposite directions when they crashed around 9 p.m. Neither of the men were wearing a helmet. They were taken to the New Amsterdam Public Hospital. However, they were both pronounced dead on arrival. Meanwhile, in Region 9, 17-year-old Kelly Joseph died on Saturday in a suspected hit-and-run along Kumu Falls Road in Rupununi. Her body was discovered hours later in a swampy area, showing signs of severe trauma. Eyewitnesses reported hearing a collision and the sound of a vehicle speeding away. Both incidents have sparked renewed concerns over road safety and the need for greater enforcement of helmet laws. As investigations continue, authorities are urging all road users to exercise caution, adhere to traffic regulations, and wear protective gear, measures that can mean the difference between life and death. On a different note, a High Court ruling has ordered a businessman to forfeit $10 million tied to a fraudulent land deal. Dale Jarvis has more on Soko's latest corruption crackdown.
In a decisive move against corruption and financial crime, the High Court has ordered the forfeiture of $10 million from businessman Atram Otar, marking a significant legal victory for the Special Organized Crime Unit, SOCO, in its ongoing crackdown on illicit land deals. The ruling sends a clear message that kickbacks and backroom arrangements involving state property will not be tolerated under the law. Otar, also known as Sweet Man of Diamond Housing Scheme East Bank Demerara, has been ordered to forfeit $10 million linked to a fraudulent land transaction when he appeared at the High Court on Wednesday last. Justice Peter Hughes ruled that the funds were the proceeds of a crime, citing Otar's involvement in fraud, bribery, and money laundering. The order sought by Suku directs that the sum be deposited into the Consolidated Fund in accordance with Guyana's Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Act. The case stems from a July 2024 search of Otar's residence, during which officers discovered the unaccounted cash. A Suku-led investigation revealed that Otar had arranged a $10 million kickback related to the sale of 2 acres of state land at Ogle. The deal involved a $50 million transaction, with a $40 million allocated for the sale and the remaining $10 million intended as a bribe to secure the deal through contacts at the Central Housing and Planning Authority. SOCO head Deputy Commissioner Fazil Karimbash issued a strong warning to individuals engaging in corrupt practices, vowing continued pursuit of those who attempt to undermine the system. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jarvis.
Thanks, Dale. With elections approaching, GCOM has extended office hours for its claims and objections exercise. Dominic Gittins tells us how voters can ensure their names are on the list.
As Ghana prepares for general and regional elections on September 1st, the Ghana Elections Commission has announced extended hours for a registration transaction during the upcoming claims and objections exercise. The exercise will run from today, Monday, June 16th, to Wednesday, June 18th, with extended office hours from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on all 3 days to accommodate an expected surge in registrants. GCOM is urging all eligible individuals, Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or Commonwealth citizen residing in Ghana for at least 1 year who will be 18 years or older by June 30th, 2025 to ensure that they are listed on the official list of electors. During the exercise, individuals may apply for registration if your name is not on the list, request a transfer if they no longer reside at the address where they are listed, submit a name change if their legal name has changed since registration, request a correction in any inaccurate information in the preliminary list of electors. GCOM is encouraging all eligible persons to visit the registration office in their area to complete the necessary transactions during the extended hours. Reporting for Channel 2 Headline News, Dominic Gittins.
Thanks, Dominic. Don't go away after the break. Iran-Israel escalation set to dominate G7 talks as the leaders gather in Canada, and U.S. memo flags 4 Caribbean CBI nations.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sneakily with a gift sight from modern optical services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common Smalls make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown, telephone 226-1082.
GCOM is currently conducting a claims and objections exercise commencing June 16, 2025 to produce an official list of electors for the conduct of general and regional elections. If you will be 18 years or older by June 30, 2025 and you're a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent or naturalization or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GCOM has posted the preliminary list of electors PLE in all of the registration divisions across Guyana for you to check if you are listed and if so, whether your particulars are accurate. You can make a claim for registration, change, correction to your particulars, or you can object to the inclusion of anyone who you believe should not be on the list. If you are desirous of making a claim or objection, you must visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to do so. Visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to conduct any of these transactions. All GCOM registration offices will be open from Monday, June 16 to Friday, June 20, 2025, from 8 hours to 20 hours. For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-027729 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening. I am Nikita Ford. Welcome to our regional and international news segment, which keeps you informed and up to date with trending news story worldwide. Thousands of Colombians march in silence across major cities dressed in white and carrying national flags to protest against political violence following the recent shooting of a Colombian sector.
Dressed in white and carrying the national flag, thousands of Colombians marched through downtown Bogotá and dozens of other cities in a so-called March of Silence, rejecting the recent wave of political violence.
It's very sad because life must be respected. Even if we don't share the same ideas as others, life comes first. There's been so much violence, and I think this is the moment to come together because we can all contribute in some way. And I believe we all share some responsibility for what's happening in our country.
The march was organized by opposition parties in response to an attack on Senator Miguel Uribe Turbay, a presidential hopeful, who was shot in the head during a campaign stop last weekend. The incident has shaken the country, reviving memories of Colombia's darkest years of political violence, when attacks on politicians were all too common. Although organizers called for a non-partisan event, many here demanded the resignation of President Gustavo Petro, Colombia's first leftist leader, accusing him of fueling the country's political polarization. Petro is currently pushing through labor and health reforms via a controversial referendum that would bypass Congress.
This is a political rally. Of course we're here for the senator's recovery, but we're also marching for a better future. We want the leftist government to step down.
This rally was called by opposition parties and civic groups to condemn the attack on Miguel Uribe Turbay, but also to send a broader message that Colombia must not return to an era where political violence silences its democracy.
In many times of Colombia's history, citizens have gathered in white, marching against kidnapping, against violence, against the FARC in a way. So it's not necessarily something that is uncommon here in Colombia, where people express rejection for violence. That's why I think it's important to separate the political objectives of many people in this march who may have it, and also the general message that people are tired, that people are sick of the violence, that people want this to stop.
In a country this divided, even a march for peace inevitably takes on political meaning. But its broader message is clear: Rejecting violence is the only way to protect democracy. Alessandro Rampietti, Al Jazeera, Bogotá.
There has been no let-up in the exchange of strike between Israel and Iran, as the death toll continued to climb.
Another strike in Haifa. Iranian missiles hit near the city's energy plant. Israel's main port city is being targeted by Iran after Israel attacked Iranian oil facilities. Air defense systems in Tel Aviv were triggered early on Monday morning to intercept Iranian missiles. Air raid sirens were activated in cities across Israel, and people were told to take shelter. Multiple buildings have been destroyed as Israel's advanced air defenses were unable to block all missiles. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it's using new methods in this latest wave, which disrupted Israel's defense systems and caused them to target each other. Iranian targets included Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's residence and military sites. Israel Electric Corporation says it's working to restore electricity supply after damage to the grid in central Israel.
The government has not been able to speak clearly about such an off-ramp or about an exit strategy or about an endgame. Many options have been floated, from regime change to slowing down the nuclear program. So a lot of Israelis are more cheerful than they've been in a while, especially after the debacle of Gaza.
The Iranian missile volleys came in response to Israeli missiles that were launched at Iran in the early hours. Air defense systems in Tehran were activated. Israeli attacks have killed at least 228 Iranians and injured more than 1,200 others. Iran says Israel is killing civilians, including 70 women and children. The entire country is under attack. Israel's Air Force has claimed to have struck Mashhad airport, about 2,300 kilometers from Israel, making it the longest reach of Israeli attacks since Friday. Israeli strikes have targeted Iranian nuclear and missile facilities and assassinated military commanders and scientists. In the last 24 hours, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' intelligence chief Mohammad Kazemi and his deputy Hassan Muhaqqiq were killed. Iran's foreign ministry building in Tehran was also hit. Flights are suspended across Iran. President Masoud Pezeshkian has warned Tehran's response will be more decisive and severe if Israel's hostile actions continue.
They have already passed all the red lines, and when they pass these red lines, Iran needs to take serious actions against that. The same model that was happening in Gaza and in Lebanon is being repeated by the Israelis here.
Israel triggered the crisis with its surprise attack on Friday. Iran says the aggression proves Israel does not abide by any humanitarian, legal or international rules. And as the back-and-forth strikes continue, more civilians are dying on both sides. Sama bin Javid, Al Jazeera.
The G7 summit opening was overshadowed by the conflict in the Middle East, with leaders divided over Israel's strikes on Iran.
Leaders of the G7 countries arriving for their annual summit, a meeting that will now be dominated by conflict and a rising death toll in the Middle East. As he left the White House to head here, President Trump was still talking about a nuclear agreement with Iran.
Well, I hope there's going to be a deal. I think it's time for a deal, and we'll see what happens. But sometimes they have to fight it out, but we're going to see what happens. I think there's a good chance there'll be a deal.
With neither Iran or Israel represented at the summit, Trump is the only person who could influence events on the ground. But the other leaders will be concerned about Israeli efforts to get the US to join the war and expand the goal to toppling the Iranian system. A former senior State Department official told me summits of leaders have in the past helped at a time of global crisis, but he's not optimistic this time.
I think there's discomfort all the way around. We're not just talking about the latest conflict being the Israeli-Iranian strikes. We're also talking about the war continuing in Gaza. And so I do think there'll be a lot of discussions. They'll be very timely, but it's hard to see within the contours of this leaders meeting in the G7 how they're going to be able to take decisive action on any of those fronts.
There'll be a range of views here. Most of the G7 nations, while saying they'd like to see a return to diplomacy, have adopted their usual mantra: Israel has the right to defend itself. The one exception is Japan, which strongly condemned Israel's attack on Iran on Friday. In addition to the G7 leaders, there are leaders of another 8 countries who've been invited here. They include South Africa and Brazil, which have both firmly condemned Israel's actions. President Trump's tariffs on countries around the world, including the US's closest allies, have already brought great economic uncertainty this year. Leaders gathering here in the mountains will be concerned that the global economy could be further impacted by a conflict raging in a region that's so important to the world's energy supply. James Bays, Al Jazeera, at the G7 summit in Canada's Rocky Mountains.
Thanks, Nikita. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day forecast. And that's it to TV2 Headline News for this Monday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.